In the beginning there was a paradise, a place so pure, so radiant, that human words could never truly capture its beauty, the Garden of Eden, a home created not just as a dwelling, but as a symbol of divine harmony between man, nature, and the Creator. For generations, people have wondered where it went. Did it vanish from the earth completely? Was it destroyed? Or did it simply slip beyond human reach, hidden behind a veil that only heaven can lift? When Adam and Eve took their first breath, they opened their eyes to a world untouched by sorrow. Rivers shimmered like liquid crystal, and every tree bent under the weight of sweetness. The air itself was alive, humming with divine presence. In Eden, there was no death, no pain, no fear. Every creature lived in peace, and the sound of flowing water mingled with the whisper of angels. Adam named the animals, tended the garden, and walked in the presence of God himself. For a moment in eternity, all was perfect, but perfection, as it turned out, was fragile. In the midst of that garden stood a tree, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. God's only command was simple: do not eat from it. Yet curiosity, temptation, and free will formed a storm inside the human heart. The serpent's whisper carried an ancient promise, that by tasting the forbidden fruit, they would become like gods, knowing good and evil. And in that single act of disobedience, paradise trembled. When Adam and Eve ate the fruit, the world shifted. The air grew heavy, the light dimmed, and innocence itself seemed to wither. In that instant, humanity stepped out of divine harmony and into the realm of mortality. Their eyes were opened not to power but to shame. They covered themselves with leaves, realizing for the first time that they were naked, and when God called out, they hid. The Creator, who had walked with them in the cool of the day, now saw them with sorrow. The connection had been broken. Eden, the sacred bridge between heaven and earth, could no longer be their home, and so they were cast out. The gates of Eden closed, guarded by mighty cherubim, and a flaming sword turning in every direction to prevent any return. From that moment, the garden became a memory, a sacred secret locked beyond reach. But what happened to Eden after that? Did it remain on earth, protected by divine power, or did it ascend, vanishing into another realm altogether? Some ancient traditions believe that Eden was lifted up into the heavens, transformed into a celestial paradise, preserved for the righteous in the afterlife. They say it still exists, not on earth, but beyond the physical world, untouched by time. In these beliefs, Eden did not die, it simply moved beyond the corruption of sin, waiting for the day humanity is restored to purity. Others believe Eden remained hidden somewhere on earth, veiled by spiritual barriers or buried beneath the changes of time. The Bible describes 4 great rivers flowing from Eden: the Pishon, Gihon, Tigris, and Euphrates, and for centuries explorers, theologians, and historians have tried to use these clues to find it. Some point to Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization, between modern Iraq and Iran. Others claim it lies in the ancient valleys of Armenia, near Mount Ararat, where Noah's Ark is said to have rested. Some even suggest it once existed in Africa, near the origins of humanity itself, but every expedition ends in mystery. No one has found Eden, because perhaps Eden was never meant to be found. In another layer of meaning, Eden was not just a physical place. It was a state of being, a reflection of humanity's spiritual innocence and unity with God. When Adam and Eve fell, they didn't just lose a garden. They lost that inner harmony, that divine connection. The flaming sword at Eden's gate wasn't only guarding a physical location. It symbolized the barrier between the divine and the fallen human soul. To return to Eden, then, is not to walk north or south, but to journey inward, to cleanse the heart, to seek purity, to restore what was lost within. Yet the story of Eden doesn't end in exile. Even as humanity walked into the wilderness, the promise of redemption began. God clothed Adam and Eve in garments of skin, a small act of mercy amid judgment. It was a sign that though they had fallen, they were not abandoned. Throughout human history, echoes of Eden have appeared again and again in sacred mountains, in holy gardens, in visions of paradise found in nearly every culture on earth. Deep within the human spirit lies a memory, a longing for that first home. That longing is what drives art, faith, and the search for meaning. Over the centuries, philosophers and mystics have said that Eden is not gone, it is hidden within time, waiting for renewal. In the book of Revelation, there is a promise that one day the tree of life will bloom again in the New Jerusalem, and those who overcome will eat of its fruit. In that sense, the story of Eden is not just a beginning, it is a prophecy of what will be restored. The end of the Bible circles back to the beginning. What was lost will one day be found again. But what happened to the actual land, the soil, the rivers, the living garden that once stood on earth? Some believe it was destroyed in the great flood of Noah, washed away in divine judgment when the world became corrupted. Others say it was removed, sealed off by God, inaccessible to human eyes. A few ancient texts describe Eden as being surrounded by a radiant wall of light, guarded until the day of restoration. And in Islamic tradition, Jannah, the heavenly garden, mirrors Eden's perfection, suggesting that what was once on earth has been preserved in heaven. There's also a deeper symbolism. Eden was the first temple, a place where God and humanity met in perfect union. When that union was broken, the world itself became fractured. Every holy place since every altar, every sanctuary has been a small reflection of Eden, a way to rebuild that lost connection. Even nature itself, in its beauty and rhythm, still carries fragments of that original perfection. When we stand before a sunrise, when we hear the wind moving through trees, when we feel peace in silence, those are echoes of Eden calling us home. Some scientists and historians view the story through another lens. They see Eden as a poetic memory of humanity's early days in lush, fertile lands, perhaps along the ancient rivers of Mesopotamia or Africa, where early humans first thrived. In this view, the fall represents our awakening, the moment humanity gained knowledge, self-awareness, and moral understanding. Eden then becomes a symbol of innocence before civilization, a metaphor for the loss of simplicity and unity with nature. While this interpretation removes the supernatural, it still honors the story's power, the eternal human longing for a purer world. Still, beyond theories and geography, there remains a mystery that defies explanation. The Garden of Eden may not be lost in the sense of distance, but in the sense of dimension. Maybe it exists parallel to our world, in a higher plane of reality, one step beyond human perception. Some mystics say that when the veil between worlds grows thin in dreams, in deep meditation, in moments of divine grace, one can glimpse the light of Eden, a place where the rivers still flow, where the trees still sing, and where peace has never ended. As centuries passed, humanity built civilizations, fought wars, and invented new worlds. Yet through all this progress, something has always been missing: that sense of original harmony, that connection with the divine and the natural. Every generation feels the echo of Eden in its own way. We plant gardens to recreate beauty. We build temples and sanctuaries to feel presence. We write stories of lost paradises and hidden realms because somewhere deep inside, we all remember what it felt like to walk in the light without fear. So, what truly happened to the Garden of Eden? Perhaps it wasn't destroyed, only transformed, hidden not by distance but by the condition of the human heart. When humanity fell, the gate closed, but not forever. Every act of love, every moment of forgiveness, every spark of faith is a step back toward that garden. The way to Eden lies not through geography or archaeology, but through spiritual restoration. The flaming sword that once guarded the path now becomes a symbol of purification. To pass through it is to let go of pride, anger, and darkness to reclaim innocence. In that sense, Eden is still alive, waiting for those who are ready to return. The rivers still flow, unseen but eternal. The tree of life still stands, bearing fruit for those who overcome. And the voice that once called, "Where are you, Adam?" still echoes through time, calling each of us to awaken, to return, to remember. The fall was not the end of the story, it was the beginning of redemption. From the ashes of exile, humanity began its journey home. Through prophets, through revelation, through faith, the path slowly reappears. Every prayer, every act of kindness, every awakening of conscience, these are the footsteps that lead back to paradise. The Garden of Eden is not gone. It lives in the space between the divine and the human, between memory and destiny. And maybe that's the real secret. The Garden of Eden did not disappear, we did. When we lost our innocence, we lost sight of it. When we fell into fear and division, Eden slipped from view. But the promise remains, one day the gates will open again. The cherubim will lower their swords, and humanity, healed and whole, will walk once more in the light of that sacred garden. Until then, the memory of Eden whispers through the world in the beauty of nature, in the longing of the heart, and in the eternal hope that what was lost will be found again. Because Eden is not just a story of the past. It is the destiny of the human soul to fall, to wander, and to find the way home.